If you've gone to retreats, tried meditation, read books, and done therapy, yet you still feel this disconnection with yourself, this is the episode for you. Today we're going to dive in and discover why your identity, your emotions, and your body are sabotaging and limiting your transformation, limiting your next level. We're going to dive in and not only with information and knowledge around each of these subjects, but around experience and stories and real life applications so that you can take these tools, put them in your toolbox, and use them to move you forward with intention. Starting with topic number 1, we're going to get right into it, identity. Your identity is the driver. It drives everything. And if you don't change it, everything else, it doesn't matter. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something that's outside of yourself. If you've ever had a cut on your arm or on your leg and you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like taking a Band-Aid and intentionally sticking it on the mirror thinking that that's going to fix your cut. When you know deep down that that is not doing anything for you or anyone else, because anything outside of ourselves is not the answer to changing ourselves or to transforming our identity from within. So taking that Band-Aid, putting it on our body, on our actual cut, actually makes the difference. And that's where identity comes into play, because your identity is the root. Your identity in this case is the cut that you need to take a deeper look at if you want to truly transform it. Now, we've worked with lots of people and we've heard this time and time again. Maybe you resonate. You've worked really hard, you've gotten the results, yet you feel disconnected from yourself. You feel off, you don't feel like you're being your true self. I've been there, a lot of us have been there, whether it's your personal life, your professional life, at a job, or a school situation while you're studying. You found yourself working to achieve a certain set of goals, or XYZ, yet at the end of it, once you get that success, you don't feel fulfilled. And that comes from forcing an identity that's not truly you. Now, that identity might have worked for a while. It might have helped you survive. It might have helped you achieve. It might have helped you win over people or keep people happy. That definitely has something to do with people pleasing, perfectionism, and all the in between. But at the end of the day, it's not who you really are. And that's why it doesn't feel good. It feels off. And a lot of us have experienced that, like I said, whether it's personal or it's professional. But there's an analogy that goes along with, everything looks great on paper. You're doing all the right things. You're following the rules in quotation marks, because, rules are rules. They're only rules that we place on ourselves. And you think that you're doing everything that you need to be doing, but everything feels super off in the end. And it feels super off in the end because it's not your real identity. Imagine if you had a suit and a tie. Whether you're a man or a woman, you put the suit and tie on and it is glamorous. It is fancy. If you have a favorite color, it's your favorite color. If you want it dripped in diamonds, it's dripped in diamonds. But you put the suit on and you go out for a walk and everyone is complimenting you. They love the suit. It looks amazing. You are shining. Yet inside, it's not cotton. It's not soft. It's itching you like crazy and you feel so uncomfortable. You're squirming around. You cannot wait to get the suit off. And that's what it feels like when you're wearing an identity that's not truly you. It looks great outside. It looks right to everyone else. But inside, you can tell that it's not true. You can tell that it's off. It's making you uncomfortable. It itches. So this analogy, it's not about taking the suit off. It's about stripping back the layers to your real identity, which is your skin, who you are to your core, to your bone. Figuring out who you are instead of what you want, who you are and what you need to do to get to what you want. I think it's dialing it back from not the what, but the who. And so that's why when we talk about identity, we're going to drive this point, because it's not about what you do. It's about who you are while you're doing it. Neuroscience today now confirms that between 95 and 90% of our thoughts, feelings, and actions every single day come from our subconscious, which that means only 1 to 5% come from our conscious mind. And so if you think about it, your subconscious mind is driving majority of your thoughts, feelings, and actions from a day-to-day basis. And so your identity is stored in that system, and it's like the core code. Your identity is like the core code that allows you to show up every single day, that gives you those same thoughts, feelings, and then in the end, the same actions or reactions every single day. And so, of course, if you want to change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act or react, it's not just simply going back to your thought. It's going back to something deeper, something that's rooted inside of you, which is your identity, the core code of your system. So if you think back, identity, This is your core belief. Who do you think you are? Who do you believe you truly are? And when you really get down and dirty and you get clear on that answer, that's how you can start to transform your identity. Because if you don't want to admit that you are messy, disorganized, and you say, I am always on time, I am always punctual, I'm always organized, I have everything structured, but your subconscious believes that you are a mess, you are always late, or you are very disorganized, it will be very hard to break through because your subconscious, which is 95% to 99%, is holding on to this belief of who you are at your root, your identity. So if you want to crack the code on that, it's dialing it back and getting really clear about who you believe you are. Now, your subconscious mind is not trying to sabotage you on purpose. It's not trying to limit you or to change any of the transformations that you see yourself experiencing. However, it does like congruency. It likes to be comfortable. It likes the familiar. So it's going to hold on to different beliefs that you have about yourself until you break through them and release them completely. Affirmations that you tell yourself are only good to an extent. If you've used affirmations, maybe you have experience with them. I have used them. Sometimes I still use them myself. But if you're only applying affirmations alone, it's going to be really hard to move forward because it's not enough. Affirmations are like downloading a new code into your software. Imagine you download a new app into your mind, into your conscious brain, which is, your computer. Up here is your computer. You download a new app onto your computer. You install a new software onto your system. However, you still have a virus going on. You still have a corrupt file in there. And until you weed out those weeds in your garden, until you get rid of those viruses, get rid of those corrupt files, it's going to be really hard to plant new seeds, which are your new identity, new thoughts about yourself, new beliefs about yourself. And so it's super important to get rid of those first and then install new ones. Because otherwise, like I said before, your subconscious, it wants congruency. It wants things to be aligned. It wants to find familiarity. And when you start putting affirmations in that are contradicting yourself, your old beliefs, your old thoughts about yourself, sometimes it makes ourselves feel worse. I know that I've used affirmations, this was years and years and years ago, and I said the opposite about myself, right? Because of course I wanted to level up, I wanted a transformation, I wanted to become someone new, do different things, go beyond my walls and limitations, and at first it's gonna feel off. And sometimes if you don't have the mindset around what you're saying and you don't experience it in your body, it can make you feel worse because it's like, well, I'm an imposter. And that's where the imposter syndrome pops up a lot of times. And so it's really, really, really taking the affirmations and then doing something more powerful with it, because affirmations alone, it's just like I said, downloading that software and you still have the viruses inside. You got to get rid of the viruses first. You got to get rid of the blocks, the limiting beliefs that hold you in that identity that you no longer want to be in, and then install affirmations. And not just affirmations, but affirmations that create a reaction and an action. Because if you're not taking action on the affirmations that you're installing in your system, there's going to be no change. You can't just think your way into a new identity. You have to experience it. You have to feel it. And that comes with taking action. I'm sure you've heard the saying before that by thinking about something, you're not going to change. You have to take action. And that's so true. When you're not ready, way before you feel ready, 100%, taking that action to get you where you want to go. And being okay with it not being perfect. Being okay with making mistakes. Being okay with putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, allowing yourself to slip up, to get your hands messy, to get your hands dirty, because that's how you learn. And when you're learning, you're growing. And when you're growing, you're transforming. And so that's why thought alone, affirmations alone, are not going to enhance your identity. They might keep you stuck. They might keep you even more stuck than before because you begin comparing yourself. You begin back and forth with the imposter syndrome. So affirmations alone are not going to cut it. Try digging deeper. Mistake number 1. People generally try to achieve their way into a new identity. However, achievement without integration usually leads to burnout because you can't constantly be in go mode. You can't do, and be on the run 24/7 and think that that's going to transform who you are. Mistake number 2. People confuse identity with behavior. So they try to do things different instead of shifting who they are at the root. Mistake number 3 is that people usually think that more is better. They want more motivation. They want more discipline. They think that if they have more of this or more of that, then that's going to change and that's going to create the ripple effect in their life. But the deeper truth of everything is that your behavior is a symptom and identity is a source. Those are two totally different things. When most people start doing the inner work and having a transformation throughout their journey, they go to things like routines and changing their habits. And they say things like, I just need to work harder, or I just need a better morning routine, or if I just had more discipline, then I would change faster, etc., etc. But they overlook a really important thing. Neurologically speaking, the brain is going to hold on to congruency. The brain is going to hold on to familiarity. It wants to be comfortable, and so it's going to resist any immediate changes that you throw into your system, whether that's a new habit, a new routine, trying to get yourself more disciplined, whether that's a tracking system. And so you have to get deeper into the root, which is your identity. It's not just about changing your routine. It's not about changing your habits, it's about changing who you are. So let's say you start implementing new routines, new habits, new thoughts, affirmations. What's going to happen? In most cases, people start doing the thing. They meditate for a few days. They get on a really good track for working out for their fitness. They do this, they do that. But the reaction of our body, the system that we store inside, still says you're inconsistent. You're not worthy. This isn't good enough. You're probably going to fall off the wagon. And so that's why it takes going a level deeper. It takes going a level deeper because that's where the safety is going to lie. Our systems want safety. They do things, they react in certain ways so that we can stay safe. At the end of the day, the intention is always there. And it's a good intention at that, keeping us safe and protecting us. And so when we throw new things into our life that are unfamiliar, naturally our system is going to react as, whoa, this is unfamiliar. I don't know what this is. We're going to keep so-and-so safe. Let's resist this, of course. And so until it becomes part of your routine and you start identifying as the person who does this, not that it's what you do, it's who you are while you're doing it. And I think that's a really important question to ask ourselves. We can't actually ask, what do you want, until you dial it back and you ask who you want to become. Because when you can answer who do you want to become, then you can take the next step and answer, what do I want? When you know who you have to become in order to get what you want, there's congruency. When you start thinking the new things, you start a new routine, you start new habits, that's going to be so much easier to break through, because not only are you wanting the things, taking action towards those things, but you're operating from an identity who already says they are those things, or they are those people. For example, you meditate, it's not working because your mind is resisting. It's something new, it's something different. You don't have a lot of experience in it. You have to continue consistently and break through the barrier of I'm meditating or I'm trying to meditate. Really bad word. We don't even use that word in our vocabulary, trying. You either are or you're not. I used to have a coach that would say, you're either pregnant or you're not. And I think that's really transparent because you either are or you are not. You can't try. Try is the gray area in between. And so until you embody meditation, for this example, you're going to have a really hard time with, I'm not a good meditator. My mind is distracted. I'm all over the place, until you choose to identify as a person who meditates. Once you identify as a person who meditates, you'll find after practice, after consistency, and after facing yourself day in and day out, that you actually are a person who meditates. And so what you wanted, which was meditation, now is who you are, your identity, someone who meditates. Not just trying to meditate, but someone who meditates. We can break identity down in 3 different layers. So we've got the mask, the autopilot, and the true self. We're going to start off with the mask. I'll give you a quick overview, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into all 3 of them. Hopefully these are helpful. The mask is someone that you put on, of course. It's what you have to do to get to where you are today, whether that's performing, achieving, people-pleasing, perfectionism. That is the mask, the filter that you put on yourself in social situations, whether it's your personal life or work, doesn't matter. But you put this mask on to act, behave in a certain way so that you receive the approval, so that you get to where you're going, so that you achieve, that you grow, that you're recognized. Number 2 is autopilot. This is not even an identity that you choose. This is something that is learned. It's learned by repetition. It's someone that you have become and you're unaware of it. For example, waking up every single morning and brushing your teeth. With what hand do you brush your teeth? You most likely brush your teeth the same exact way every single day. Or putting on your shoes. You put the same shoe on first every single time. Or you get dressed in the same exact way. Driving your car. How many times have you been in your car, if you drive, and you're going somewhere, even your bicycle? I had this experience with my bicycle, and you're going somewhere, but your mind is over here, your mind is over there, you're thinking of other things, and all of a sudden, you arrive at your destination. That is you on autopilot. You're not consciously thinking and choosing, it's just the identity that you've embodied in that moment. And the third one is your true self. This is you at your core. This is your real identity. This is you being your most present and connected, truthful self. And this is the deepest layer. A lot of times it takes taking off the mask, getting rid of the autopilot to get to your true self. So let's break them all three down, starting with the mask. The mask is the you that you have built over time, whether that stems from your childhood, your upbringing, your education, your environment as a child. But this is the one that feels they need to perform or to show up in a certain way, to be received well, to be loved, to be approved, etc., etc. This one is high functioning, but not fully alive. So as an example, we've worked with 7-figure earners before who, they show up every single day, they're in, they're out, they're always on all the time, no matter what. And eventually they hit burnout, or eventually they're uninspired. There's always different paths of this, but specifically in this example, she was not able to receive help. She's got all these people on her team, she's able to delegate, but at the same time, she has resistance around receiving help. And in this resistance to receiving help, she's not allowing herself to expand at full capacity. So in this example, she was just trying to maintain, to perform, and that was her mask. And until that mask is completely broken off and you're able to get down to your true self, that third layer, you're not able to transform and to level up to the highest of your ability and be your best self. The mask is a form of armor, but everyone knows that a form of armor is hard, and it doesn't allow for real, raw connection with yourself or with others whatsoever. Number 2, autopilot. This is the you that you don't choose to show up as. This is the one that is just programmed and that always exists. It's like you running in the background. This is the you, like I mentioned before, that wakes up every day, brushes their teeth the same exact way, puts their shoes or their clothes on the same exact way. They say in neuroscience that we have 60,000 thoughts a day on average, and that 90% of those thoughts, more or less, are the same every single day. And here we are wanting a different output when we're not putting anything new in. That's the thing that we get to break down here, because autopilot exists. Autopilot is the stress you felt for years or the reaction to a catastrophe that it's always repeating. It's the same thing over and over and over again. In neuroscience, we call this long-term potentiation. This means that it's already installed in your system. You show up like it over and over and over because the more you repeat a certain thing, the stronger it's wired into your system. The more you fire a pattern, the more it wires into your system and the stronger that wire gets. Your basal ganglia is activated here. That's why changing habits can be so hard, because you're trying to place new habits on top of an autopilot identity that's rooted already in your system for a long, long time. And so the problem is you're going to sabotage yourself unintentionally because it's not matching. These new habits, these new thoughts, these new ideas are not matching your autopilot identity from years that are rooted, wired over and over and over again, repeated and repeated. People say they want peace, but they still react to chaos. People say they want intimacy, but they're still so worried about protecting themselves that they have huge walls all the way around themselves. Number 3 is the true you. And this is the one that has existed long before the mask ever came into play. The true self is the identity that you are at your core, at your root. This is the presence. This is you being you without any filters, without having to perform, without having to show up, to change the energy of the room, to people please, or to be perfect. And this usually was when you were a child, for example. There was no reason or need to act in a different way, to be a different person. This is the true you all the way down to your skin. Just like that first example, looking at yourself in the mirror, having that suit on, and it's beautiful, but it's not you. Your skin is who you really are. And it's not so much to just decide that you want to be this person. You have to actually experience it. You have to feel it. Your nervous system has to be trained to obtain and embody this new identity. This is the version of you that expands through chaos. The one that doesn't have to hustle or prove anything to anyone for any reason. This is the one that is already present, connected, and fully aligned with who they are and what they are doing every single day. In order to connect to the true self, this third level of identity, it's not so much just a mindset shift and deciding that this is who you are. This is training the nervous system. This is fully embodying this new identity and who you are and who you want to become. And it's actually telling your nervous system that, okay, hey, authenticity is not dangerous, because maybe at once it was. And so your system, like I said before, wants congruency, wants protection for you, and wants to keep you safe. And so you need to train your system to be able to embody a new identity, which means vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength, or whatever the case is. It's taking time to train that nervous system, because high performers maybe at once felt unsafe by being them true selves. It's not just a mindset trick or a hack. It's actually training your nervous system to embody this new identity. It's showing your nervous system that being authentic is not dangerous, because perhaps at once it was. Whether that put you out and made you vulnerable, it made you feel like you were weak, it was a risk, it made you susceptible for other people's criticism or judgment. And those things are going to keep you from pulling through and breaking through into a new identity, because your system, like I said before, wants to keep you safe. And there's a quick story that I'll share. One time, Yvonne and I were filming in the library, and I had this insane experience where we're filming, I have an idea of what we're going to be talking about, and we're going with the flow, and all of a sudden my body is just not about it. And so being that this was back in the day and this was something new, getting in front of the camera, speaking, your palms get sweaty, I was feeling very uncomfortable, and I knew in my mind that I've done this before. I've made tons of videos. I can get in front of a camera and I can speak. I could talk to anyone all day long. I could talk to a wall. My mom knows that. However, in this moment at that library, I'll never forget my body's reaction. And that was my nervous system resisting this new identity that I was taking on. And so in that moment, you have a choice. You have two choices, rather. And that's the power of making those choices, because those techniques are helpful, but when you put them in action in the moment, that's when they truly count. This getting in front of the camera is what I chose, and pushing through that moment of discomfort and my body's reaction to, ooh, we don't like this, we're not good at this, we're not able to do this, and actually showing my body, okay, this is safe, this is okay, this is who we are now, this is what we do because of who we are now, and filming the video. And I remember my stomach was making these crazy sounds, and Yvonne and I are looking at ourselves like, what is going on? But at the end of the day, I chose to get in front of the camera, I chose to film the video, and I chose to pull through and push through, which is almost like facing yourself in that moment, because it's just a camera and you in this example. But this happens all the time, and it's like taking those moments where you want to break, where you want to go back to the old identity, but you choose the new one. You ask yourself, who's leading me right now? Who do I want to be leading me right now? And do I want to go back to the old, or am I going to persevere and push through for the new? I want to share a practical exercise with you. So sit here with me, and I want to ask you a question. No music, no distractions, no movement, just sitting here in silence and asking yourself, if you took away all of your responsibilities, took away all the things that you were doing, the checklist that you had, the responsibilities, the things that pile up, who would still remain? Who would you be? What would still be part of your identity if you had nothing at all to do? Because so often we build purpose and we build connection to self based on output, not input. And we have this identity wrapped around what we do versus who we are. And this is a reminder to self that we are human beings, not human doings. And our identity is not directly attached to what we do, but who we are, especially during the chaos. And this is where emotional intelligence comes into play. Because emotional intelligence isn't just managing your emotions. It's being able to connect to yourself and stay connected throughout the chaos, even when there's noise, even when things come up unexpected. It's the ability to maintain control internally when everything externally is just chaos and out of your hands. Emotional intelligence is something that you feel in your body. It's that reaction that you choose to stop and to not have versus repeating the same patterns over and over and over again. So let's dive deep. We're gonna figure out your emotional blueprint as we dive into emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? Most people think that emotional intelligence is being positive all the time or having control over your emotions, but it's so much deeper than that. Being an emotionally intelligent person is that you have the ability to choose your reactions and how you show up in the world, because you're able to manage your own emotions, you're able to manage your energy, and by doing so, it gives you the power back that you have allowed others to take from you for years and years and years on repeated patterns. Real emotional intelligence is messy. It's about diving into the chaos and still controlling your emotions from within. Not the environment, not anyone else's emotions, but your emotions. And in order to get there, that takes training your nervous system. Training your nervous system to stop and reflect versus the automatic reaction that it's had for years and years. You're not emotionally weak if you find yourself reacting over and over again. All it is finding the awareness and then putting it into action by consciously choosing to not react. Because if you want a different outcome, you have to be putting in a new input. Emotional intelligence gives you that power to choose something differently and to find that awareness about yourself. Today, we break down the myth of emotional control. I'm calling out all the costs of being unemotionally connected. And so let's be honest, if you are not emotionally aware and do not have a high EQ or emotional quotient, then you're sabotaging your own growth and transformation. A lot of times it's not intentional. It's because we don't have this awareness about our emotions. We run from them. We're taught at a really early age to avoid them, to suppress them, to restrain them, or to just explode and let them come as they are. However, when you learn how to take control over your emotions, it's not controlling them. It's being able to notice them, be aware of them, release them, and not be controlled by them at the end of the day. You consciously choose how you react, how you respond, and who you show up as during chaos, when there's noise, and when things don't go as planned. A lot of times people self-sabotage under moments of pressure because their EQ is not high enough. They don't have the capacity internally to hold space for the different emotions that they're feeling. This is not to say that you should avoid your emotions. By all means, you should feel all the emotions. We're human. It's part of what makes us human. However, when you finally figure out your own way of holding space for those emotions, you get to feel them and release them instead of being held by them and controlled by them for years and years and years. Another thing is that you're avoiding tasks, not because you don't want to do them, but because of the way they make you feel. A lot of times procrastination is rarely about time management. It's more related to state management. That difficult conversation, the sales call that you have to make, this, that, and the other, they don't come because you don't want to do it. You're avoiding responsibility. It comes because you don't have the capacity to hold the space for the emotions that those things carry with them. If you avoid the emotion, you avoid the action. Here's something funny that a lot of people don't realize. Your nervous system does not give a crap about your vision. It doesn't want you to be happy. It doesn't want you to go for the gold. It just wants to keep you safe. And so you have this big vision, you have these big goals, and however, you keep hitting resistance. Your body, your nervous system, it keeps self-sabotaging you. It feels out of alignment. It can't find congruency. That's because your nervous system needs to be trained. Emotional intelligence isn't something that you can read in a book and just automatically understand. You have to apply it to your life to truly embody it. It's something that you have to train your body and your nervous system to understand and to experience if you desire to level up and to transform. You will self-sabotage yourself if you feel like your emotional baseline is being touched or targeted, because you have to be able to pull that emotional baseline up and change your emotional homeostasis. Your emotional homeostasis are the emotions that you feel most regularly. And so if you're used to feeling stress, you're used to feeling frustration and anything else of the sort, your body's going to hold on to that, even if it's not serving you, until it realizes that other emotions, your new identity, is actually serving you. Here's something that we hear a lot. Fix me, I'm broken. You're not broken. You're emotionally backlogged. What does that mean? You've been holding on to emotions for years and years and years. And where do they go? They don't just fly away. They're stored inside of your body. Some sort or some capacity, they're in there and they come out when you least expect it. And so the thing that you need to realize about emotional intelligence is that you need to have the tools in order to manage the emotions that come up, because situations are going to arise. And there's a saying that I got from Rich Dad Poor Dad, is that when emotions rise, intelligence falls. And that is so true, because under pressure or in chaos, when there's lots of noise, it's really hard to remember the tools and the tricks that you've learned. It's not about mindset hacking. It's so much deeper. It's about making the space utilizing those tools in the moment and embodying the person who can actually hold space for the chaos and the noise and not be impacted directly by it. A lot of times, high performance without emotional intelligence is like a time-ticking bomb, just waiting to go off. You work really hard, you have the vision, you have the goals, you find the perfect partner, you get married, there's joy, there's success, there's achievement, but your nervous system doesn't know how to hold it. So what does it do? It self-sabotages unconsciously without you even realizing it. We've seen it over and over and over again, and it's not something that you can read and apply automatically. You have to feel it and embody it. And it's so connected to making the space for those emotions in your body and in your life. If you don't own your emotional patterns, they will own you. Long story short, you've got to get down to the pattern and learn how to interrupt right away, because they'll ruin your relationships. They'll dictate the way that you communicate with others. You'll find yourself reacting and responding even when you know consciously, this is not how I want to show up. This is not who I want to be. But your body is already doing the thing that it's so used to doing time and time again. Like I said, it's finding that pattern and interrupting it right away so you can remove it from the inside out. Emotional intelligence is not a mindset hack. It is self-mastery and it is nervous system mastery, and it has to be experienced. It's a bodily experience. It has to be something that you feel and that you experience and that you live time and time again. Let's break this down even further. When people think of the words emotional intelligence, they think about thinking positive, staying in calm, controlling their emotions, but it's so much deeper than that. That's just surface level. Real emotional intelligence starts in the body, the nervous system. People hear the words emotional intelligence and they think it's thinking happy or thinking positive thoughts. It's controlling your emotions. It's acting a certain way, but it goes so much deeper than that. That is just surface level. Real emotional intelligence is felt in the body and trained in the nervous system. It's something that people say your emotional intelligence is your emotional prediction machine. Your body, your nervous system already knows the experience that you've had in the past, and that's what it holds on to. So it's not that you're reacting every single day at this new situation, this new thing. Your body has already stored it away and has labeled it as something. And so it's the meaning of the situation for your nervous system. You experienced someone shouting as a child, and that you associated with danger, or that you associated with fear. And so now anytime someone raises their voice or begins to shout at you, your body goes into the reaction of, I have to keep myself safe. This is dangerous. And so when you break down emotional intelligence, it's not so much attached to the current situation that you're experiencing. It's attached to the meaning you've put on the one you've experienced in the past. Because like I said, your subconscious and your nervous system are here to keep you safe. They want to keep you away from harm's way, away from danger. So they're going to keep you safe by the reaction that it always has. Like I said, the emotional prediction machine. If you want to interrupt that, you want to interrupt the pattern and change that, then you have to connect deeper. And that's where identity comes into play. If deep down you've wired your identity through, I'm only safe when I'm in control, then everything you experience, every emotion you feel is going to be filtered through that reality, through that emotion as well, that identity. When you feel anger, you suppress it because it doesn't match the version of you who is strong and unshakable. You're not allowed to feel those emotions. You're not allowed to feel the anger. A lot of times, emotions are not the problem. The problem is the rules that we have learned from an early age, from a young age, that suppress the emotions or restrict the emotions that we're actually allowed to feel. Some of them are on the allowed list and some of them are on the not allowed list. For example, maybe anger is on your not allowed list, or sadness. Maybe you've heard as you were a child, good girls don't cry, good little boys don't cry. And so you suppress the urge to cry and experience the emotion of sadness. You filter out the emotions that are allowed and not allowed based on your identity, which is why identity plays so much into this. Emotional intelligence isn't about controlling what you feel. It goes so much deeper than that. It's about creating safety in your body, creating the space in your body so that you get to choose, not your past and not your patterns. At Move With Intention, we work with a lot of high-level leaders, and a lot of times we hear things like, I don't have time. Yes, you do. If you do not make the time, then those emotions that you're suppressing or restricting always come back up later. And when they do, they usually come back a lot stronger, a lot more powerful, and a lot more debilitating because they control the way that you show up. They control your reactions. And so the reality of things are, when you bury emotions, they always come back up. You can't bury them and think that they disappear forever. No, like I said before, they stay in your body, which is a somatic experience. It's not logical. It's not just from thinking about it. It's from experiencing it in the body. If you experience something in your body and have felt an emotion without properly processing that emotion, it's going to be stored somewhere in your body. Something we say here is that if you're not able to lead yourself internally first, how can you expect to lead a team, a mission, or a huge vision? Because the thing of it is, people who have high emotional intelligence levels and high emotional quotients are able to make better decisions, communicate more effectively, be stronger in situations where they have to make quick decisions. They're able to lead from authority under pressure and in the chaos. There's always a higher result, not only in their salary and the money that they make, but the opportunities that they can find and connect to, and the money that they pull in, the connections that they pull in, the expansion that they can have with a higher EQ. Something really important to note is that your emotional state impacts your outcome. This isn't just about you. If you are a business leader or you work with a team, that means that it's impacting you and all of the atmosphere around you. Every breath you take, every reaction you have or don't have, that's directly impacting your environment around you. And people who have high EQs are 90% more likely to respond from a reflective base, from a well-based intention, versus react under panic or chaos. Without internal leadership and high emotional intelligence, there are real risks, especially if you work on a team or you're a business owner. The thing of it is that you'll find yourself being inconsistent in your communication. There's going to be impaired resilience. There's going to be a lack of trust. And when you lack trust, it's very difficult to evolve and expand on a team level. Something really key to note is that mastery starts within. At Move With Intention, we always have our clients track their emotional triggers so that it's not impacting their behaviors. We also have them apply micro tools so that it doesn't hijack their new routines and the way of being. We also have them align their state coming from a place of presence instead of panic so that they can make intentional choices that move them forward. Because even the best plans, the best strategy can definitely fall through if you are a person who is unemotionally trained. So as you sit there right now, I want you to ask yourself, when tension hits, how do I react? How do I respond? Am I responding from a place of calm presence and connection, or I'm responding from old wounds and past patterns? Now, I want you to follow me through these next 4 levels of emotional mastery. So I want you to imagine that you're climbing a mountain, okay? So obviously you're starting at the bottom. You're not doing it to prove something, but you're doing it to discover how much your legs can go through, your lungs, your mind. You're going to hike this mountain. So starting with level 1, starting with getting your foothold here at the base, you're going to ask yourself a question, awareness-based question. Can I name what I feel without judgment? Can you ask yourself this question to name what you're feeling with no judgment, but from pure curiosity? Am I feeling shame? Am I feeling fear? Try to put a name on the emotions that you're feeling out of this energy of awareness and out of curiosity, instead of being critical or judging yourself for it. Because once you do that, that's your first step forward up your own mountain. As you start to climb your mountain, you get to level 2, which is ownership. This is taking responsibility for everything in your life, the good, the bad, and everything in between. This is probably one of the most difficult places for people to be because they want to point the finger. They want to use blame. But at the end of the day, blame gets us nowhere and it keeps us stuck. If you want to stay at level 2 of your mountain, then exactly that. Use blame. Don't take responsibility. But when you're ready to progress, to expand, and to move up, you're going to take full responsibility. Can you take full responsibility without shame and without blaming others? That's the next question. You have to be able to ask yourself that question and respond with honesty, with truth, because that's going to uncover a lot of emotions, a lot of limitations around where you are on your mountain of emotional mastery. Level 3, as you climb up your mountain, is regulation. Can I shift my state without running away? This is when the altitude really starts to hit. That's when things get hard and heavy. Do you have the tools to breathe through whatever chaos and obstacles are coming your way as you hike up your own mountain? Number 4 is leadership. This is when you get to the peak of your mountain. You're about at the top. It's when the steps get heavier, the higher and higher that you climb, because you have to ask yourself, can I lead myself from within and hold true to my values even when the world is crazy, even when things are out of my control, and even when the old me wants to react? The new me takes charge and chooses to shift with intention. I love this example, and it's something that I remind myself of constantly because it is a body-based nervous system and emotional training that you can do with yourself, starting from level 1 all the way up to level 4 for that mountain, because you're going to encounter that mountain and you're going to encounter these levels during different obstacles and different periods of your life. Something that I like to remind myself is that I have control to walk myself through those different steps no matter the situation, finding clarity through awareness, observation, regulation, and leadership. A practical exercise that I would love to share is just taking a minute to close your eyes and center and here into this moment. If you could close your eyes and ask yourself, what emotion has been running the show in my life this last week? What would you answer? You could answer out loud, you can write this down after, but just sit with that for a second. And then the follow-up question would be, what belief is this emotion protecting? And if I was able to fully feel it, what would shift in my body? Where would I feel the shift in my body? Because like we talked about before, our bodies, our nervous systems are trying to keep us safe. And so when we have these reactions, these emotions that show up and run the show, they're coming from a place of good intention. But if they're no longer serving us, how can we fully feel them to then rewire them? Because this is emotional intelligence. It's not thinking your way through something, it's fully feeling it and embodying it as a leader. And here's the truth that no one talks about. You can't think your way into changing an emotional pattern. You have to feel it. You have to experience it in your body. This is something that so many leaders overlook when it comes to somatic intelligence. Somatic intelligence is using your body as the anchor for the new identity that you're wiring and rewiring into your subconscious. It's super important because it's not about thinking. It's about feeling. It's about living, and it's about experiencing the emotion as a whole in your body. Like we talked about before, experiences and emotions stay stored in your body. If you want a new one, you have to get your body on board. You can't just think about it, you have to be about it, and that means to your body, to your core. The reason people feel like this is such a struggle, or that they're still disconnected, even when they do mindset tricks and hacks, they work with coaches, is that because their mind might be on board, but their body is still drifting off in the abyss, back in the past, experiencing the same thing over and over and over. That's where resistance comes up, that's where imposter syndrome comes up, and that's where feeling disconnected comes into play. Because it's not just your mind, it's your entire being. Your nervous system and your body have to be a team in this action and this movement forward into your new identity. In most cases, we find ourselves being more reactive than responsive. Why? Because we're still operating from survival mode. Whatever we are doing now got us to where we are, and so that seemed to have worked in the past. But if it's no longer serving who we are and who we want to become, then that's a pattern that we have to recognize and interrupt with intention. Because if not, we will continue to have the same identity, react in the same way, experience the same emotional homeostasis over and over and over again. And that's not just something that exists in our mind, it's something that exists in our body, which makes it a somatic experience. We have to be able as leaders to find space within to create safety in order to expand. We can't just bypass emotions and think that they will never come back. They always come back up. The nervous system is not trained to keep us happy and fulfill our visions and dreams. Its main goal is to survive. Of course, we know all the way from the past, back years and years and years ago, our ancestors were made and built for survival, and that's exactly what it's doing for us today. It's keeping us safe, out of harm's way, out of danger, and it's reactive instead of responsive. It doesn't have our best interest in mind when we want to shift identities. So what do? We have to train it. We have to unlearn and relearn in order to fully shift on a physical and mental and emotional level. Until your body feels safe, your mind will stay in overdrive. Let me say that again in a different way. You can read all the books, you can go to retreats, you can do therapy, coaching, you name it. But if your body does not feel safe in what you're doing and who you're trying to become, then your mind's gonna keep activating over and over again the same things that it used to think. The same reactions, the same thoughts, the same feelings, you're gonna stay the same. Same input, same output. You have to create a feeling of safety within your body, regardless of the emotions that are coming back up, releasing them, knowing how to release them, having a box of tools that serve you in your expansion forward. Inside the MOVE method, we have this thing that I like to break down as the body-brain loop. Something that we teach is that the mind doesn't lead the body leads the mind. And if you're still stuck in survival mode, you're gonna find that your emotions and the state of being are reflected on your body, the reactions from your body. Survival psychology says that your thought patterns directly impact. So if you're stuck in flight, freeze, or flight, then your thoughts are gonna be also reflective of that state of being. So if you're in that state, your thoughts are impacted by it. Have you ever heard of analysis paralysis? Well, that's just another form of protecting you. The overthinking, the nonstop, go, 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 your mind doesn't know when is enough. That's a form of protection. The second one is somatic signatures or identity loops, because your body stores every single emotion, every single experience that you've ever had, every single version of you, all the way from your childhood being the good boy or the good girl, the overachiever, the one that takes care of everyone else, the people pleaser, the perfectionist, you name it, it stores it. So until you go through the loop completely, until you complete the cycle and release what no longer serve you, you will keep repeating it over and over and over again. Number 3 is body safety, sustainable expansion. Because real growth isn't pushing harder, doing more. No, it's being conscious and intentional by creating space and safety in your body. Once you have that space and safety in your body, you're able to take on more. You're able to manage your emotions better. You're able to stop being reactive and start being reflective. It allows you to take on the next level with ease, or with a lot more ease, because you have the capacity to hold way more. Instead of reacting from body memory, you're reacting or responding with intention out of a place that is conscious and aware of who they are and what they are doing. When your body feels safe, your mind calms down, your emotions integrate, and you start to step into that next level identity with ease, and it stays intact. It's not just for a while, it stays intact because the other 3 things are also aligning at the same exact time. I wanna share a practical exercise with you right now. I want you to sit here with your eyes open and your eyes closed, and I want you to ask yourself, where do I feel tension in my body? Whether your mind goes to an event that you just went through, responsibilities, a task that's waiting to be completed, where do I feel tension in my body? What is it that I want to fix? What is it that I need to change? And just maybe place your hand on that part of your body. Maybe you feel a tightness in your chest when you think about something that's pending, or you think about communicating with someone, having a hard conversation. Maybe you feel it in your jaw. A lot of our clients feel the tension in their jaw or even in their temples here, because it goes right into the eyebrow line here, or into the jaws, because we clench our jaws when we feel that tension or that stress. But just try to find where in your body are you experiencing this, and can you just sit with it? Not fix it, not change it, but just locate it in your body. Find where you feel that pain and see if you can identify it. No judgment, no criticism, just identify it. Let your body catch up. Your mind probably already knows what it's coming from or where it is, but let your body catch up, and let your body be okay with sitting in the silence and sitting in the stillness. No questions, no answers, just being in the moment. If your body still thinks that success is danger or stress, then you're going to have to keep creating. If your body thinks that success equals danger, then you're gonna keep creating the same results, and it's not gonna be from freedom, it's gonna be from survival. It's not about working your mind only. It's about training your entire nervous system, getting your body on board. It's not that the mind is the problem, it's that your identity, your emotions, and your body need to be reconnected. They need to be in a team together, and they get to work towards your best version, hand in hand as a team. It's about retraining from the root and all the way up into being who you want to be. Something a lot of leaders overlook is embodiment. Embodiment is not optional. It's the bridge. It's the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. I want you to take all this information and just pause. Allow it to land. If there's one truth that we want to leave you with, is that you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. There's nothing that you need to change or to criticize yourself about. It's just an identity. I want you to take all this information today and just pause. Allow it to land. It always lands in the way that it's meant to land, and it's different for everyone. What we want to leave you with today are these truths. You don't need to be fixed. You are not broken. There's nothing that you need to change or do. It's something about your being. Connect to who you want to become. Because if you're not already that person, likely your nervous system is protecting you from danger. Where can you retrain? How can you start today? A little step forward to retrain your nervous system to take on a new identity, one that serves you instead of protects you and keeps you limited or keeps you small. If you're still fighting yourself to move forward with intention, it's time to stop fixing and start rewiring, because you don't need another plan. What you need is a new operating system, an identity that is rooted in your own personal truth, an emotional system that feels safe, and a body that feels safe enough to expand instead of sabotage. I love sharing information and experiences like this because it's not a Band-Aid. We don't give Band-Aids. We give you real rewiring, real tools that you can use, identity, emotional mastery, and nervous system safety. And my next question for you is, who are you willing to be if nothing outside of you changes ever? If this hit home, if you felt like you learned something, if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a like, follow us, share it with a friend. That's how we lift each other up. That's how we inspire others to also take the initiative to move forward with intention, not only as ourselves, but as a team. Because when we lift each other up, we are a team, and that's what this is about. We want to impact and inspire so that we can all rise up together and be the best versions possible. You can follow us at We Are Move With Intention, or you can see us online at wearemovewithintention.com. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us today for this first episode. We can't wait for the next. And remember, your identity is not fixed. It's a living system inside of you, and this is the start of your rewiring. See you next time, super soon. Thank you again.